you can see these low salaries. So case statements are really useful when you want to create a new column based on some conditions in the existing table. Alright, now moving ahead, we are now going to see how to write subqueries in PostgreSQL. So subqueries, we write a query inside another query, which is also known as nested query. So suppose we want to find the employee name, department, country and salary of those employees whose salary is greater than the average salary. So in such cases you can use subqueries. Now let me show you how to write a query inside another query. First I'll write the select statement. I am going to select the employee name, comma, I want the department, comma, I also want to display the country name and the salary from the employees table, where my salary should be greater than the average salary. So after this where salary greater than, I am going to use brackets and write my subquery, that is select average salary from employees. Now let me break it down for you. So first we are going to select the average salary from the employees. So this particular SQL statement will find the average salary from the table. We will compare this average salary with salaries of all the employees. So whichever employee has the salary greater than the average salary will display their names, the department, country and their original salary. So if you want, you can run this statement as well. Let me select this statement and run it for you. You can see we have written the average salary of all the employees, which is nearly $81,466. So we want the salaries of the employees to be greater than this average value. So let me run this and see how many employees have a salary greater than the average salary. There you go. So we have around 75 employees whose average salary or whose salary is greater than the average salary. Alright, now moving ahead, this time I'm going to tell you how to use some inbuilt functions. We'll learn some inbuilt mathematical functions and string functions that are available in PostgreSQL. So I'll just give a comment. There's another way to write a comment. Instead of a double dash, you can use the / an asterisk, and inside the asterisk you can write, let's say, SQL functions, and you need to close this. So I'll give another asterisk and a /. So this is also a comment in PostgreSQL. Alright, so first of all we'll explore a few math functions. So there is a function called ABS which is used to find the absolute of a value. So if I write select ABS of, let's say, -100, it is going to return me +100 or just 100, because as you know, the absolute of any value will remove the negative sign involved in that value. There you go. So our original input was -100, the absolute of -100 is +100. Next, let's see another function that is called greatest. So the greatest function in PostgreSQL will return the greatest number in a range of numbers. So suppose I write select greatest. Inside the greatest function, I'll pass in a few numbers, let's say 2. I'm just randomly passing a few numbers, let's say 490, let's say 56.5, and let's say 70. I'll give a semicolon. Let me run this. You will see the greatest function will return the greatest integer value or greatest number that is present in the range of numbers that we have provided. So in this case 90 was the largest number or the greatest number, so we got the result as 90. Again, you can use an alias for each of these statements. Now like greatest, we also have a function called least, which is going to return the least number present in a range of numbers. If I run this, so the result is 2, because 2 is the least number that is present in this selection. Alright, now there's a function called mod which is going to return the remainder of a division. So suppose I write select mod, and this takes two parameters. Let's say 54 divided by 10. As you can guess, the remainder is 4, and so is our result. You can see it has returned the remainder. 54 divided by 10, the remainder is 4. Alright, if I scroll down, now let's see how to use the power function. So I'll write select power. Let's say I want to know power 2, 3, which is 2 cube, that is 8. Let me just run this. There you go. So the result is 8. You can also check, let's say power of 5, 3, it should be 125. Alright. Next, you can use the sqrt function that is available in PostgreSQL to find the square root of a number. I'll write sqrt, and let's say I want to find the square root of 100. You can guess the result. The output should be 10. If I run this, you can see the output here 10. Let's say I want to find the square root of, let's say 144. You can again guess the result. It should be 12. Let's verify it. Okay, there is some error. Let me verify it again. There you go. It is 12. Now, there are a few trigonometric functions as well. You can use the sine function, the cos function, and the tan function. Let's say I want to know the sine of 0. If you have studied high school mathematics, you would know the sine of 0 is 0. You can see the result, it is 0. Let's say you want to know sine 90. If I run it, you can see the output here 0.89. Alright. Now there are other functions like ceiling and floor that you can use. So let me show you what the ceiling and floor function does. I'll write ceiling. Let's say I'll pass my floating value as 6.45 and let me run it. You can see the ceiling function returns the next highest integer, that is 7 in this case, since the next highest integer after 6.45 is 7. Let's see what the floor function does, and let me run it. As you can see, the floor function returns the next lowest integer, that is 6 in this case, or the nearest lowest integer to any provided decimal value. Okay. Now that we saw how to use mathematical functions, there are a few string functions available in PostgreSQL. So let's explore them as well. I'll write string functions. Okay. We'll scroll down. Cool. There's a function called character length that gives you the length of a text string. Suppose I write select, give the function as character length, and inside this function I'm going to pass in a text. Let's say India is a democracy. This is my text. Let me run this. Okay, you can see the result here, which is 20, since there are 20 characters in my string that I have provided. Alright. Now there's another function called concat in PostgreSQL. So concat is basically used to merge or combine multiple strings. So I'll write select concat, within brackets I'll give the text string now. Let's say I want to combine Postgres SQL. I'll give a space, comma, I want to merge Postgres SQL is, I'll give another comma and write my final word, that is interesting. Now what we have done is, inside the concat function we have passed in separate strings, and now using the concat function we want to merge the three strings. Let's see what the result is. I'll run it. Alright, let me just expand this. You can see here we have concatenated the three strings successfully, so the output is PostgreSQL is interesting. Okay. Now there are functions like left, right and mid in PostgreSQL. So what the left function does is, it will extract the number of characters that you specify from the left of a string. Let's say I'll write select left and I'll pass in my text string as India is a democracy. I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. Let's say I want to extract the first 5 characters from my string, so I'll give 5. So what it will do is, it will count 5 characters from left, so 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. If I run this, it should ideally print India for me. There you go, it has printed India for us. Alright, similarly you can use the right function to extract few characters from the right of a string. Let's say you want to extract, let's say I'll give 12 characters from right, so from here onwards it will count 12 characters. I'll change left to right now. Let me select this and run it. So you can see here, this is the output. From the right it has counted 12 characters and returned a democracy. Okay. Now there is a function called repeat. So the repeat function is going to repeat a particular string the number of times you specify. Let's say I want to select and use my repeat function, and inside the repeat function I'm going to pass in, let's say India, and I want India to be displayed 5 times. I'll give a semicolon and run it. In the output you can see India has been printed 5 times. Okay, let's scroll down. There is another function, a string function in PostgreSQL called as reverse. So what reverse function is going to do is, it is going to print any string passed as an input in reverse order. So if I write select reverse, and inside the reverse function I'll pass in my string, that is India is a democracy. I'm going to use the same string. I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. I'll close the quotes and the brackets. Let's print this. You can see it here. India is a democracy has been printed in reverse order. There you go. Alright. Now this time we explored a few inbuilt functions that are already present in PostgreSQL. Now PostgreSQL also has the feature where you can write your own user-defined functions. So now we will learn how to write a function of our own in PostgreSQL. So let's create a function to count the total number of email IDs that are present in our employees table. So for this we'll write a function, a user-defined function. So let me give my comment as user-defined function. Okay. So let me start by first writing create. So this is the syntax to write a function in PostgreSQL. So I'll write create or replace function. Then I'll give my function name as count emails. And as you know, functions have brackets. Then I'll write returns, the return type, as integer, then an alias with dollar symbol. I'll write total emails, since I'm going to display the total number of email IDs that are present in my table. I'll close the dollar symbol. Then I'm going to declare a variable. The variable name is going to be total underscore emails. This is of type integer. I'll write begin, and inside begin I'll write my select statement. So I'll write select. I want to count the email IDs that are present, so I'll pass my column name, that is email, into total emails from my table name, that is employees. I'll give a semicolon, and then we'll write return total emails. As you know, user defined functions often return a value, so hence we have mentioned the return statement as well. And now I'm going to end my function. Then the next syntax would be, let me just scroll down. Okay, so here I'll give my dollar symbol again, followed by total underscore emails. Next I'll write my language as PostgreSQL. So the way to mention is PL P G SQL. Let's give a semicolon and end it. So this is my user defined function that I have written. So I created a function with the function name count underscore emails, and this would return integer as an alias, which is total underscore emails. We declared that variable as an integer. Then we started with a begin statement that has my select statement, where I am selecting the count of email IDs that are present in the employees table, and I am putting the value into total underscore email. So I have used the into keyword, and this returns the result as total underscore emails, and I have ended. Let's run this. Okay, there is some problem. There is an typo, so this should be integer. Okay, let me run it once again. There you go. So you've successfully created a user defined function. Now the final step is to call that function. Now to call this function, I'm going to use my select statement and the function name, that is count underscore emails. I'll give a semicolon. Let's execute this. There you go. So here you can see there are 134 email IDs present in our employees table. Now one thing to mark is there are total 150 employees in the table, but out of them 134 employees have email IDs, the rest of them don't have, so they would ideally have null values. Alright, so that brings us to the end of this demo session on PostgreSQL tutorial. Let me go to the top. We have explored a lot. So we started with checking the version of PostgreSQL. Then we saw how to perform basic mathematical operation, that is to add, subtract, multiply. Then we saw how to create a table that was movies. We inserted a few records to our movies table. Then we used our select clause. We updated a few values. Then we deleted one row of information. Then we learned how to use the where clause. We learned how to use the between operator. We also learned how to use the in operator. Let me scroll down. We created a table called employees, and then we learned how the distinct keyword works. We also learned how to use isNull with where clause. We learned about the order by clause. We saw how to alter or rename a column. Then we explored a few more examples on where clause, where we learned about and OR operator. Then we learned how to use limit and offset, as well as the fetch operator or the fetch keyword in PostgreSQL. Moving further, we learned about the like operator in SQL, which was used to perform pattern recognition or pattern matching, you can say. Here we saw how to use basic inbuilt PostgreSQL functions like sum, average, minimum, count, maximum. Next, we saw how to update a value in a column using PostgreSQL update command. We learned how to use group by, then we learned how to use having clause, then we learned how to use case expressions in PostgreSQL. So we saw how case expression is similar to our if else in any other programming language. We explored a few mathematical and string functions, and finally we wrote our own user-defined function. So that brings us to the end of this tutorial on PostgreSQL. Now if you want to get this SQL file that we have used in the demo, you can give your email IDs in the comment section and our team will share this SQL file with you over email.
In this session, we will learn who is a SQL developer and what are their responsibilities in a company. Then we will focus on the skills required to become a successful SQL developer. We will see the expected average salary in both US and India. We will also discuss how to become a SQL developer and look at the top companies hiring for SQL developers. So hey everyone, I'm Abhisar Ahuja from Simplilearn and welcome to this video on how to become a SQL developer. But before we begin, if you love watching tech videos, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to never miss an update. When going through some of the popular job boards online, you would easily see SQL developer is one of the most demanding jobs sought by companies. As we all know today, companies collect vast volumes of data and store it in their own databases. They want professionals with a good understanding of data who can keep it safe and secure. So, first we will understand who is a SQL developer. SQL developer is a person who is accountable in creating and managing huge data assets of a company. In other terms, SQL developer is a person who can develop SQL databases as well as write and test code. Let's understand this with the help of an example. Let's say we want to search a particular product on Amazon website and Amazon has stored all its data about products in a database. Now we will write the product name in the search bar and when we click on the search button, it will run a SQL query that fetches all the information about the product and displays us on the website. So this is the basic task done by a SQL developer. Now we will understand the responsibilities of a SQL developer. All databases have a structure and logic behind how data is stored and retrieved. A SQL developer designs the database accordingly for businesses, that is called database modeling. After the database is created and deployed, it's the SQL developer who is responsible for fixing the general issues of the database. SQL developer should be well versed with structured query language to create optimized SQL queries and refines the existing ones to extract information from the database. SQL developers run several diagnostic tests to keep a check on the server and the database. In order to understand how to organize companies' data, SQL developers must communicate with technical and non-technical persons from the business, and SQL developer also gathers client requirements and identifies the features that the database owners want. As data is an asset to a company, SQL developers backup and restore data for their clients. They also perform tasks like data management and data migration. That is, if a company has stored all its data on a local storage and now it wants its data to be stored in a cloud storage. So the safe transmission of the data from local storage to cloud storage is known as data migration, and that is done by the SQL developers. After knowing the responsibilities, now we should look for skill set required to be a good SQL developer. One should have a good knowledge of SQL commands, functions, joins and procedures. Let's have a look at few commands such as create, drop, alter and truncate. These commands come under data definition language. We also have insert, update and delete commands. These commands come under data manipulation language. We have grant and revoke commands. These commands come under data control language. We also have commit, rollback and save point commands. These come under transaction control language. These are the basic commands a SQL developer should be familiar with. And a SQL developer may have a little command on any one programming language. You don't have to be expert in programming. All you need is how to interface between application and your database. For example, you are using MySQL and your web application is based on PHP. then you should know how to connect your application to the database and how to issue queries, how to fetch results, and then how to display it to the users. One should have a good understanding of various database management systems such as MySQL, Microsoft Access, Oracle, PostgreSQL, DBase, FoxPro, SQLite, IBM DB2, LibreOffice Base, MariaDB, and Microsoft SQL Server. One should know integration of databases with data visualization software such as Power BI and Tableau, which helps businesses to make better decisions and give you an add-on as a SQL developer. One should develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills to create optimized queries. Now we'll see how a SQL developer is compensated in both United States and India. In the United States, SQL developers draw an average salary of $72,282 per annum. In India, the average salary of a SQL developer is Rs 4,49,532. Now we'll see how a person can become a good SQL developer. For that, one should have a good command on structured query language and know how to interact with database management system and can issue queries to get the desired result. Earning industry-recognized SQL developer certifications such as Microsoft Certified Professional Developer (MCPD) or Oracle PL SQL Developer Certified Associate, which usually require a passing score on an exam. And it's important to accumulate as much practical experience as possible. Start by designing, creating, and querying small databases connected with your hobbies and interests. For example, your favorite music, videos, or your personal finances. This will enable you to gain experience, test your knowledge, and build your project portfolio, which will be highly beneficial when you start applying for your first full-time position. Now we will see some major companies recruiting SQL developers. First we have the Multinational Financial Services Corporation, American Express, followed by the Multinational Professional Services Network, Ernst & Young. We also have the messaging company WhatsApp. Then we have the e-commerce giant Amazon, as well as the technology and computer solutions company Dell. Finally, in our list of companies, we have the multinational technology company Google.
SQL is a very important technology that is used in the IT industry. Professionals working as application developers, web developers, data analysts, data scientists, software testers, and cybersecurity experts need to know SQL. In this video, we will cover 30 important SQL questions that are most frequently asked in the interviews. Now, these questions consist of a set of theoretical and practical questions. So we will use different commands, functions, joins, and other functionalities in Excel to solve the problems. So let's get started with the first question. So the first question is to state the difference between where and having clause in SQL. Now, where and having are very widely used in SQL to solve specific problems. Now let's look at the difference one by one. So where clause is used to filter the records from the table based on the specified condition and can be used without the group by clause. On the other hand, having clause is used to filter the records from groups based on specified conditions. Now where clauses cannot have aggregate functions, so you cannot use sum, count, average, min and maximum functions in the where clause. While in the having clause, you can operate on aggregate functions, and those aggregate functions are used to filter values from a group. Now where clause is implemented on rows or at row level. So for each row of data, you have the where condition applied. Now having clauses are implemented on columns. So for each column of data, you have the having condition applied. Now another important difference between where and having is that the where clause is executed before the execution of the group by clause and after the execution of the from clause. On the other hand, the having clause is executed after groups are created. Now we will learn more about where and having and understand the usage better when we tackle practical problems in this video. Now moving to our next question, which is how is drop different from truncate? So drop and truncate are two different commands. So drop command is used to drop the whole table removing the table definition and its contents, while truncate deletes all the rows from the table. Now we can drop the whole table structure in one go, so the view of the table does not exist. By using the truncate command, the existence of all the rows in the table is lost, but the view in the table exists. Now integrity constraints will be removed in drop command, while the integrity constraints will not be removed when you use the truncate command. Now moving to our third question. Now this is a practical question. So we will be using a table which is present in my MySQL database. So the table name is called employees, and I want to find the lowest salary of the employees in each department. You can see here, this is how my employees table looks, and the output query would be something like this. So here, since I want to find the lowest salary of the employees, so I'm using a min function to find the lowest salary in the table, and then I'm grouping all the employees and the results by department. So let's do this on MySQL Workbench. Okay, so here I am on my MySQL Workbench. First, let me go ahead and create a new SQL script. So I'll click on this, and that will create a new script. Okay, so here we'll write our commands. Alright, so our question was to find the lowest salary for each department. Okay, so I've given my comment to make my commands and whatever I'm doing more readable. So first, before I proceed, I need to select my database. So I'm going to use my SQL_intro database. So I'll write use SQL_intro. Now this database has a lot of tables that we'll be using in this interview questions video. I'll run it. Okay, we are in our SQL_intro database. Now there is a table called employees. Let me show you the table first. If I write select star from employees, okay, so here you can see this is the table I'm talking about. Now these are the rows that are present in the table. We have 20 rows, and here you can see the different columns. We have the employee ID, employee name, age, gender. We have the department, city, and salary. Now this is the same table that we have also used in our other videos that are already live on YouTube. Okay, so let's solve our question to find the lowest salary for each department. Now for that, I'll write select. I'll select my department column, which is DEPT, comma, and then to calculate the lowest salary or to find the lowest salary, I'm going to use the min function. So that will return the minimum salary present in the salary column. So I'll write min salary as, I'm giving an alias name as, let's say, lowest underscore salary from my table name, that is employees. Then I'll write group by department. Now I'm grouping it by department because we want to find the lowest salary of the employees in each department. Now let's run and see the result. There you go. I'll just move it to the top so that you can see the results clearly. Okay, so here we have total 7 departments, you can see at the bottom, and in these 7 departments you can see in sales 70,000, let's say, dollars was the lowest salary. In marketing we had $55,000 as the lowest salary. Similarly, if I scroll down, we have other departments like tech, IT, finance, and HR. So these are the lowest salary in each department. Alright, now moving to our next question. So our fourth question is, which query will help you fetch unique values from a column in a table? So this is a multiple choice question, which is another type of question that is often asked in the SQL interviews. Now we have multiple queries here, and you need to choose the right query that will solve our problem. So since I want to get the unique values from a column in a table, so the right option would be to use the distinct keyword in the query. So if I write select distinct followed by the column name, let's say you want to find the distinct cities or the distinct departments in the employees table, so the query would be select distinct city or let's say department from the table name, that is employees. Hence this is the right option if you want to find any unique values from a column. Now moving to the fifth question. Now the fifth question says, it is actually a similar question here. We want to write the SQL query to fetch unique departments from the employees table. So as we saw, this is our employees table, and if you want to find the unique departments from the employees table, you can just write select distinct then followed by the column name, which is departments here, so DEPT from employees. Let's do this on our MySQL workbench. Okay, so let me just scroll down and I'll give a comment here, that is we want to find the unique departments. So the query would be select, then I'll use the distinct keyword. If I hit tab, it will autocomplete. Then I have my column, that is department, from my table name, that is employees. If I run this, the query will give us the unique departments that are present in the table. So here we have total 7 unique departments in the table. You can see here we have sales, marketing, product, tech, IT, finance and HR. But if you see our original table, which is the employees table, so there are total 20 records, and if you see the department column, there are multiple departments to which each of these employees belong to. Okay, now moving ahead. Now the sixth question is to write an SQL query to fetch the unique values of departments and print their length. Now this question consists of two parts. First, we need to fetch the unique values of departments that we saw in our fifth question, and then we want to print the length of each of the departments. So for that, I'm using the distinct keyword to find the unique departments, and then I'm using the inbuilt length function that is present in MySQL to find the length of the department, and then I'm using an alias that is length underscore department from employees. So let's say this on our workbench. Okay, so let me give a comment. I'll say unique departments and length. Okay, so the query would be, I'll write select distinct department, and then let me just scroll down. I'll give a comma and use my inbuilt length function. See, I'm hitting tab to autocomplete, and inside the length function I'll give my column name, that is department. I'll give an alias as department underscore length from my table, that is employees. This is pretty simple. So first I am finding the unique departments, and then using the length function I'm finding the length of each department. Let's run and see. Okay, you can see the result here. So sales, the length is 5. Marketing, the length of marketing is 9. So basically you're counting the number of characters that are present in each of the departments. So in sales there are total 5 characters, in marketing there are total 9 characters, in product there are total 7 characters, in IT we have just 2 letters I and T, so hence the length is 2. Similarly finance is 7 and HR is 2 because we have just 2 letters H and R. Okay, so this is another variation of using distinct along with any inbuilt function. Alright. Now moving to the seventh question. The question is, what is the use of dateDiff function in SQL. Now dateDiff returns the number of days between two date or date time or timestamp values. So dateDiff is another crucial inbuilt function that is present in MySQL. So here is how you can use the dateDiff function. So it will return the number of days between two dates or date time or timestamp values. So here I have two date values, that is 10th of April 2021 and I have 30th of March 2021. So this query will give us the total number of days that lie between these two dates. And similarly, here is another example of using the dateDiff function. So I want to calculate the total number of days that are present between today's date, so I am using the now function, and between 20th of April 2021. So let's do this demo on the workbench. Alright, first I'll give a comment saying dateDiff function. Okay, now the way to use is I'll write select, and then you can see here once I type date, MySQL workbench is automatically suggesting some of the inbuilt functions. I'm going to use dateDiff, and within dateDiff I'm going to pass in two values. So I'm passing in two date values, let's say 2021 April, so I'll write 04 and let's say 10th of April. I'll give another comma and I'll pass in my second date value, that is going to be 30th of March 2021. Alright, now another thing to note here is the date value should be present inside quotations. Now if you want, you can give an alias as well. I'll write as total days. Let's run it. There you go. It has given us the output as 10. So there are total 10 days between 31st of March to 10th of April. Now let's see another example. I'll write select dateDiff and we'll pass in my now function. So the now function returns the current date, that is today's date, and I'll give another date value, let's say 2021 April 20th. Now we'll see the results. If you want, you can give an alias name so that the output is more readable here. I'll run it. Okay, so between today's date and my previous date, that was 20th of April, there are total 49 days. So today's date is actually 8th of June. So between 20th of April and 8th of June, there are total 49 days. Alright, now moving ahead. Now in the 8th question, we want to write an SQL query to display the departments that have more than 2 employees. So this is our employees table that we have been using, and here is how the command looks like. So here we are using both group by and having. Now I am grouping by department because I want to display the departments that have more than 2 employees. Now for the second filter, I am using the count function of the employee IDs and checking if the employees in each department are more than 2 or not. Let's do this. Let me move down a bit and I'll give a comment departments with more than 2 employees. Okay, now let's write our query. So I want to select the department and then I'm using the count function to count the employee IDs in each department or the employees present in each department from my table, that is employees I'm going to group by department, and then I'll use having my count of employee ID. This should be greater than 2. So our query will return only those departments which have more than 2 employees. Let's run and see. There you go. So we have total 4 departments, that is sales, product, tech and IT, where we have more than 2 employees. You can see here sales has 4 employees, product has 3, tech has 4 and IT has 3. The rest other departments like finance, HR and others have less than 2 employees. Now if you want, you can give an alias as well. Let's say as total employees. Okay, let me run it again, and here you can see I have the column name as total employees. Okay, so moving ahead, the 9th question, we want to display the details of the employees for all the departments except marketing. Now here I have my employees table. Now if I were to display all the details of the employees apart from marketing department, I can give a condition like where department not equal to marketing. So this is the way how you write not equal to. So you use the less than and greater than symbol. Another way to do is use the exclamation mark and give equal to. So this means select all the employees where department is not equal to marketing. Now let's do this. I'll move down a bit and will give a comment as details of employees apart from marketing. So the query would be select star from employees. I'm using star because I want to display all the details. That means I want to display all the columns. Then I'm going to use my where condition where department not equal to marketing. I'll put marketing under quotes. Let's run it and see the results. There you go. So we have total 18 rows of information, and if you see the department column, we have all the departments apart from marketing. Now if you remember, our employees table had total 20 rows of information, out of which 2 are missing, which means there were 2 employees who were from marketing department and those departments we are not displaying. Now another way to do is to use exclamation mark and equal to. So this also means select all the employees where department is not equal to marketing. Let's run this. You see here it gives us the same result and has returned us 18 rows of information, leaving apart the employees from the marketing department. Alright, now moving ahead. So our 10th question is to write an SQL query to print the details of the employees who have joined before April 2010 and after May 2005. So here is my employees table and this is my SQL query. So here we are using just a where condition to filter our results, and my condition is the employee should have joined after May 2005. So I have written after 31st of May 2005 and before April 2010, which is before 31st of March 2010. Let's do this. I'll give a comment here. We'll write employees joined before April 2010 and after May 2005. Now let's write our SQL query. So I'll write select star from employees where my date of join, if you see here, I have a column called date of join which has the details about the day on which the employee had joined the company. So I'm going to write where date of join is greater than 31st of May 2005. So I'll write 2005. This is one of the formats to use date values. So this is the year value, this is the month value, and this is the day value. And my date of join should be less than 31st of March 2010. So I'll write 2010 March 31st. I hope you were able to understand this. Date of join greater than 31st of May 2005 means after May 2005, and date of join less than 31st of March 2010, this means employees joined before 2010 April. Let's run it. Okay, so we have total 3 employees in our table. You can see the date of join, and all of them have joined after May 2005 and before April 2010. Okay. Now moving ahead to the 11th question. So here we want to find the employee with the third highest salary from the table. So I have my employees table here, and my command would look something like this. So here we are going to explore how to write subqueries in SQL. So I'm using a subquery here where I'm trying to find the employees who have the top 3 salaries, or the top 3 employees who have the highest salaries, and from that I'm going to filter out my third highest salary employee. So let's do it on our workbench. Okay, so I'll come down and let me give a comment as third highest salary. Okay, so let me first write down my SQL query and then I'll explain. So I'll write select star from. After that I'll start a bracket and write my inner query. So I'll write select star from employees order by salary descending. Then I'll use my limit keyword and I'll write limit 3 as I'll give an alias name, let's say T, and then I'm again going to use my order by salary limit 1. Okay, now let me explain you the flow. So first let me run the inner query. I'll select my inner query and I'll run it. So the inner query returns my top 3 employees who have the highest salary, and this is ordered in descending order since I used salary descending. Now let me just use this. Okay, now you can see it clearly. So these are my top 3 employees who have the highest salary. So Joseph has the maximum salary, followed by Angela, and then we have Jack. Now from this I want to return only the record for Jack, because Jack is the employee who earns the third highest salary. So for that I am going to use the result returned by my subquery or the inner query, and on top of this I'm going to order the salary and say limit equal to 1. So I'm again ordering this salary in ascending order. So what will happen? Jack will appear at the top, Angela will be at the second place, and Joseph will come to the third place. And from there I'm using limit 1 so that I can only get the record for Jack. Now if I run the entire query, you see the result. I have my employee name as Jack who earns the third highest salary. Okay. Now moving ahead to the 12th question. The question is to print all the alternate records in a table. So here is my employees table, and from this table I'm going to print all the alternate records. For example, I'm going to print my employee ID 101, then I'm going to skip 102 and print 103, followed by 105, 107, 109. So all the employee IDs that have an odd value. And you can look at this example in another way of displaying the employees which have an employee ID of even numbers. So 102, 104, 106 and so on. Now the way to do is either you can use a simple select clause and say employee ID percentage or modulus 2 equal to 0, which means I want to filter only those employees which have an even employee ID. Else what you can do is you can use a CTE, as you can see here. So CTE, or the common table expression, is a temporary named result set that you can reference within a select, insert, update or delete statement. Now it is used to simplify complex joins and subqueries and to provide a means to query hierarchical data. Now let's write this query on our workbench and see how it works. So before that, let me explain you. I am using a few new functions such as row number. This will create a row number for each of the rows or the records present in my table. And then from this CTE, I am going to use my filter clause or the where clause, where rn, which is row number, percentage 2 equal to 1. So this will return only the odd records from the table. Let's see how to do it. Okay, so I'll give a comment, print alternate records. Okay, now I'll start with my simple query, which is select star from employees, where let's say I want to find only the even employee IDs or the employees who have an even employee ID. So I can use employee ID percentage 2 equal to 0. So it has to be a perfect division and the result should be 0. Only then I can get only the even employees. If I run this, okay, there was an error here. It should be employees. I'll run it again. You can see here I have printed the alternate records in a table. So we have skipped 101 because it is not divisible by 2. I've started with 102, followed by 104, 106, 108, and then finally we have 120 or 120. Now if you want to print only the odd records in the table, you can use employee ID percentage 2 equal to 1. So you can see here I have 101, 103, 105, 107 up to 119. Now the best way to do this is to use a common table expression or CTE. So I'll start with my command, that is with CTE, as I'll start with my bracket. I'll write select star comma, then I'm going to use my row number function. So I'll write row number, then I'll write over, then I'll use order by employee ID. So this row number for each of the rows is going to be created over my employee ID column, and that is sorted in ascending order. I'll give an alias as rn, which stands for row number, from my table, that is employees. I'll scroll down and then I'm going to close my bracket. I'll write select. Let me remove the space here. Okay, I'll write select star from CTE, where my row number percentage 2 equal to 1. Now let's see this from the top. So I have my common table expression where I am going to create a